Welcome back. In the last session, we got started with Azure Blob Storage, wherein we read the data from a blob storage. There were a bunch of CSVs which we read. We transformed the data. We ran some SQL queries, and once we transformed the data, we pushed our transformed analyzed data into Azure Blob Storage again, and we saw how Databricks actually partitioned your data into multiple parts, and so that's why it is called as a distributed file system, wherein it collects all your data and partition it so that it can read and parallelize your data in a speedy manner. In this session, we're going to get started with Databricks files. So there's another method of reading or storing or saving your files. Now these files could be in the form of CSV, could be in the form of JSON, text, raw, and you could utilize FileStore, Databricks FileStore, to read the data from. So we're gonna head back to our Databricks workspace, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our data, and if you see, there are no tables at the moment. So file stored is a special folder within Databricks which allows you to read and save data, just that you're doing it in a local system. So instead of reading it from your mount or Azure blob storage, you could just create a table into file storage and read it as you were reading it in your local system. There are multiple file store like jars, tables, plots, and import stage. What we're going to do is we're going to use the table and we're going to use the UI to create it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the table, and over here you have a bunch of options: upload files, DBFS, another integration. We're going to click over here, and we have got bunch of CSV running over here. What we're going to do is we're going to select all of them and upload them. So as soon as you do an upload, it's going to read the data, and you could just create using the UI. So I'm going to click on the UI and attach a cluster with it. Once you've attached it, you could just preview your data, how your data kind of looks like. And this is how your data gonna come up, and it's gonna sort the data for you. It's gonna give you that how this is how the preview looks like. If you see any discrepancy, you could just change the database data type as well. In this case, the count is considered as a string. We would like to convert it into an integer, and the file type is CSV. We're gonna give them as the code travel store, and we are going to create a table. And we're gonna, now once it has created the table and given us a preview of our data, we're gonna go back to our notebook, which we already have the CSV Scala in the previous one. What we're gonna do is we are going to read the data from the file store instead of Azure blob storage. So what we're gonna do is we are going to accumulate all of this and put it into a same shell. So we accumulated it and gonna put it into a same shell so that it kind of looks a little neat. If you start running one by one, the first thing we did was we read the data right over here, wherein we were reading it from our Azure blob storage, but instead of reading it from the blob storage, what we want is we want to read it from the file store which we have just created. So the path goes as first you write the DBFS, which is the Databricks File System, and then you have your file store, which is going to be constant, and it is followed by three options: jars, table, and plots. So in this case, we are going to use as tables, and underneath it we want to read all of the data. We can read one by one file at a time. However, in this example, we're going to read all the data because they're in the production scenario. You don't want to read the files or data manually. You want to read all of them together. So once you've read the data, all of the operations going to remain the same, all the transformation going to remain the same, and we want to write the data to our Azure blob storage again, or you could just write the data into your file store as well. So we have already created a CSV. We're going to just rename it to a better one: sorted travel FileStore, and what we're going to do is we're going to run this, and this is going to read the data from the FileStore first and then do all the transformation and write it back to our Azure Blob Storage. So it has read the data, created the data frame. That's how your data looks like. And if you go to your Azure Blob Storage, go to your container which you created, you should see the new folder as a sorted travel file store. That's where it is, and you could see the same results wherein it got committed, started, success, status, and then the part of your file wherein you could see the data. So this is how easy it is to get started with your data store. You could just use the file and start just utilizing it as one of the file store to read and write data as well. I hope this was informative. Thank you.